Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new edition of 1NG Podcast. I am your host, Chef B. Do me a favor if you haven't already, follow me on X/Twitter at 1NG underscore podcast. That's 1NG underscore podcast. Also, now available on YouTube and other platforms where you get all your podcast needs. Now, let's get into the show. All right, Panther Nation, Panther fans, your boy is back with a new episode and uber pumped to break down this big win versus the Miami Dolphins. How are we feeling after this epic comeback victory, y'all? I know I'm excited, so let's get right into it. So, the Carolina Panthers took on the Miami Dolphins in the motherland, Charlotte, North Carolina, October 5th, 2025, and overcame a 17-0 deficit to win in epic fashion 27-24, tying the franchise record for the largest comeback in franchise history, improving to 2-3 on the season and officially are 2-0 in the bank. The Panthers are, in my opinion, on the rise and could potentially improve to 3-3 next week when we take on the Dallas Cowboys. But for now, let's break down this epic comeback. And you know how I like to do the games. I like to start with the stats. So, first downs, Miami 15, Carolina 26. Passing first downs, Miami 13, Carolina 12. Rushing first downs, Miami 2, Carolina 8. So you can see where a swing was right there. First down from penalties, Miami had 0, Carolina had 6. That's crazy. So we were definitely getting some help out there, folks. Third down efficiency, Miami was 5 for 13, where we were 5 for 11. Fourth down efficiency, both perfect. Miami was 1 for 1, and Carolina was 2 for 2. Total plays, Miami had 53, Carolina had 65. 65 total plays. Absolutely crazy. Total yards, Miami had 248, where Carolina had a whopping 418. Total drives, Miami had 10, and Carolina had 11. And we capitalized on that final drive, which allowed us to win the game. Yards per play, Miami had 4.7, where Carolina had 6.4. Passing, 229 for Miami, where we only had 179. Completions and attempts, 27 for 36 for Miami, where Carolina was 19 for 30. Yards per pass, 5.9 for Miami, 5.4 for Carolina. Interceptions thrown, Miami had 0, we had 1. Sacks, yards lost, 3 for 27 for Miami, 3 for 19 for Carolina. Rushing, 19 rushing yards for Miami. A whole 19 rushing yards on the day for Miami, where Carolina had 239, folks. 239. Again, this is why I like to break down the numbers first before we get into all the talking and the tidbits, because right there is a significant outlier. You can see right away that 19 rushing yards versus 239 is more than likely the culprit of the victory. Rushing attempts, Miami had 14, where we attempted 32 times to run the ball, imposing our will. And again, this is the identity of the Carolina Panthers. Run the ball. Smash mouth football. Steve Wilkes knew it. It's successful. That is what our offensive line is built for. Utilize that strength. I'm not going to say it enough. Every time, man. Run, run, run. Our offensive line is literally a power zone offensive line. That's why we brought in Robert Hunt. That's why we brought in Damian Lewis. These guys are great pull guards. Let's start using these wide zone concepts more, especially for Rico, because that's what he thrived in, especially over in Dallas. And as we've seen it in this game as well here. So, moving on. Yards per rush was 1.4 for Miami, absolutely abysmal. And then 7.5 for Carolina. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. 7.5 yards, average rush. Absolutely insane. Red zone attempts. Miami was 2 for 3, where Carolina was 3 for 5. Penalties. Miami had 9 penalties for 64 yards, where Carolina had 8 for 46 yards. I still would like to see us clean some of those penalties up, but believe it or not, we have been one of the least penalized teams over the last couple of weeks. So something that Dave Canales has definitely improved, because we are notorious for beating ourselves, especially with miscues and pre-snap penalties, which again are a coaching issue. And we see Canales has definitely cleaned those up. Turnovers. Now this is a bit of a head scratcher and something I want to talk about. Miami 0, Carolina 2. And we're going to break this down a little bit too. We're not going to just say it was one person or whatever, but what we are going to say is that we need to get these turnover issues figured out. We cannot consistently hand our opponents a 17-point lead, a 10-point lead, whatever it is. We cannot set up our defense for failure by providing our opponents great field position, by turning the ball over and not allowing that time for them to rest, or just giving them good field position. You want to set your defense up for success, and you're not doing that by turning the ball over in your own zone and allowing them easy access to your end zone. Whatever. Moving on. Fumbles lost. Well, let's look at that. Again, Miami had none, and we had one. So again, turnovers aren't good. Interceptions, Miami had none, and we had one. Again, not very happy about that, because these turnovers has definitely hurt us and honestly caused us a few losses so far. But still a long season. Anything can happen. And honestly, with the momentum that we got from this comeback victory, we might see a splash here, or this could be, in my opinion, the turning point for the season if we can continue to drive this mentality of being able to face adversity and win no matter what. So, possession, time of possession, my holy grail. We all know that I hang my hat on the time of possession, even though it's funny that we actually won time of possession. I think it was last week or the week before, and when we lost, which was unusual. But it doesn't happen often. But still, my holy grail: Miami 28 minutes and 46 seconds of time of possession, and Carolina had 31 time possession. So you control the ball, you control the game. I'll say it a million times over and over again, and that's essentially what happened. And this game was absolutely incredible. We had a lot of rising stars in this game, a lot of things to talk about. Before we get into that, let me break down my top 3 performers for the game. Bryce Young coming in at 1 here, went 19 for 30 at 198 yards, 6.6 yard average. He had 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. His QBR was not good, but his overall rating was decent at a 90.7. QBR was only a 38, but his passer rating was pretty decent at a 90.7. Then we got our man Rico Dotto. He came in 23 carries, 206 rushing yards. Folks, this is why we won the game. At a 9-yard average, 1 touchdown, and he broke a 53-yard, almost a house call there. It was absolutely incredible. And we got our guy, our main man, T-Mac, coming in with 6 receptions, 73 yards, 12.2 yard average per reception, which is crazy. He had a 29-yard long one. He had 8 targets. Not too bad. And then I like to bring in XL here for an honorable mention for the touchdown score that kind of started getting us rolling. He had 2 receptions for 31 yards, and that touchdown, like I said, 24-yard long one on 3 targets. And then before we move on to the top 3 defensive guys, let me give a little shout out to Jimmy Cooks for that 4th down grab with a crisp route that he ran. He shook off a savvy vet, which in my opinion, play of the game. And honestly, the reason why we won, even with Rico Duato killing it and doing his thing, if we didn't get that 4th down conversion there, I mean, we're down 24-20, game's over. But we're going to continue to get into that. Defensive performers. Christian Rosebroom. I got to throw him out there. There's been a lot of hate for this guy, and I can understand why. He hasn't really performed to a high level so far up until this game, where he led the team in tackles. He had 9 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, and a tackle for loss. The guy was just all over the field out there. That did come because Dave Canales and Coach Avero got together. They switched roles with him and Trevin Wallace, and clearly it made a significant difference. Basically, Roseboom was out there playing that, middle linebacker role, calling all the plays, calling all the cues and everything, and they wound up switching him with Wallace, and that allowed Roseboom to play a lot more freely per Dave Canales. Then my main man, Trayvon Merrick, my absolute guy right here. This is my boy right here. Whole reason why I'm, super excited about him was because, he's a safety that can play like a linebacker. And again, we are seeing it because, again, we're starting to put this guy in the better positions too. That guy needs to live in the box. Okay, folks. All right, Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, if you're listening, this guy needs to live in that box there. I don't want to see him doing anything else except coming down and cleaning dudes up, because that's what he does best. I said it in my breakdowns when we got him, in my blueprint before we even made the move to get him. This guy is going to bring the juice we need in the run support, folks, because why we can't stop a nosebleed when it comes to the run. Oh, yeah, up until now, because Miami couldn't even run more than 20 yards on us. Let's go. But when you get guys in here like this that are known for tackling, that have a nose for the ball, and don't mind getting physical, yeah, that's what's going to happen. So big shout out to Trey Seven, my guy. The dude was absolutely playing out there, Super Saiyan, hair on fire, all over the field. Gotta love this guy. That's my favorite player on the field right now, next to Chuba Hubbard. And then we got to throw an honorable mention here to Patrick Jones. I mean, come on, my guy's out there fishing right now. He had the game-ending sack, and then he hit the cast for the celly. Come on, boys. Let's go. Patrick Jones. What did I tell you about Patrick Jones and DJ Wooten before the season started? These guys are going to be a lot better than we think. Now, again, that doesn't mean they're going to be out there lighting the stat sheet. That doesn't mean that these guys are going to be, top duo rush, in the NFL. No, absolutely not. We don't need them to be that. We just need them to be, at least maybe top 20, top 15, because let's be honest with it. Last year, we were dead last in pressure rates. So improving from dead last to top 20, I'll take that any day of the week. And that's what I mean by these guys are going to be a lot better than we think they would be. And I know that. And we're starting to see the defense gel. We are starting to see the defense gel. And that's honestly amazing. And you can't really ask for anything else, So let's break down the game a little bit before we move on to some key takes and obs. So, I mean, this game was really the tale of two halves. So Miami jumped out early, capitalizing on our mistakes. Again, having early turnovers, it's just really is a gut punch. I mean, it's really gonna hurt your team and your chances to win if we're consistently gifting our opponents points. I mean, we cannot expect every time we're going to be able to come back and win these games. I don't care what's going on. I don't care who we are. It's not going to happen. But once again, Miami jumped out early, capitalizing on our mistakes, but we were able to flip the script in the second half with our suffocating defense and explosive run game. So the first quarter was rough. Bryce Young fumbled on the opening drive, and Miami's defense struck, turning it into a quick touchdown. Then Bryce turned around and threw a pick. Yeah, I know, another pick. Something we really got to clean up with Bryce. I'm not really sure why in year 3 we're still having these rookie-esque mistakes from him. Not going to beat the guy down because he led us to a comeback, and I appreciate that. But again, when you're elite skill or your elite trait is processing and all that other stuff. And, we're not showing that. It's a little like, what are we doing? But again, mistakes happen. Nobody's perfect. I understand that. But again, throwing a pick, allowed, Tua to make us pay with a laser to Jalen Waddle for 6 shortly after that. So before you know it, we're down 17-0. And now we're head scratching like, here we go. We're looking at 1-4, season basically over. And, as Panther fans, I mean, we got to be honest, man. We're all tired of seeing that. I mean, I know I'm tired of seeing that. And like I said, if you listen to my pod, you listen to my pod because you want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear the same old narrative of everybody's all happy go lucky. I've already said it. You're not going to get that here. You're going to get truth. You're going to get positivity too. I'm all about positivity, but I'm also not going to sit here and lie about stuff, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, we don't need to be looking at this. I mean, it took a little while, but now, when we were down 17-0 for the first time, I'm on X and I see everybody actually like, hey, what's going on, Bryce? And again, it's not put the microscope on Bryce. It's just we got to start asking these questions now, man. I mean, if this guy was taken first overall and now in year 3, we would like to see him to be able to elevate players around him, elevate the team around him. We shouldn't have to get every superstar on the planet and put him on our team for him to show some kind of success. That's not how this works. That's not how football works. And you can say what you want. That's the reality of the situation, right? So a perfect little tidbit of that is you can sit there and say, oh, well, one player can't make an impact to win the game, but yet we had Rico Dottle do just that, right? We had him do just that, and he's just a running back. So imagine if you could get that type of elite play from your quarterback. All right. So it does matter and it can make a difference, and those things do happen. So, anyways, we're down 17-0. We're all like, come on, Panthers. What are we doing? We're tired of seeing this. But this team did not fold. And that is the biggest difference between this year and years past. We have no quit. And that's something we can all give Dave Canales credit for, is that he has definitely instilled this no quit mentality. Even when we're down, give it everything you got, and you have to commend that. And honestly, I appreciate that, because not for nothing, being down 17-0 after coming off a blowout loss in New England, I mean, yeah, that's tough. That's tough, man. Mentally, physically, that's wearing on you. But these guys didn't quit. They showed up in the second half, and that's the turnaround. The second half, this defense said, nah, man, we're not going for this no more. Nick Scorton and Derek Brown started living in Miami's backfield. And not for nothing, Tua was 27 for 36, 256 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, yikes. Dude was cooking. But the biggest thing we were able to do was hold their RB1 to 16 yards on 10 carries, which is one of the worst rushing days in Dolphins history. Let's remember, they used to have Ricky Williams going, running around back there, not now, but you know what I mean? Like, the Dolphins are kind of known for having a good run game, and we held them to one of their worst rushing days in their franchise history. So, again, for all the knock on the defense, all the hate on the defense, not even counting our defensive coordinator, Rivero, just the defense in general showed up and showed out. Not only in the second half, but, they did well in the first half as well. But again, when you're given bad field position, right, you're already in your own territory trying to defend after a fumble or after an interception. Come on, guys. Like, we got to be honest with ourselves. You can't expect the defense to stop them every time. They're gonna give up some points at that point, and it's not their fault. It's not like they drove 95 yards down the field and scored a touchdown. No, they only had to go 30 yards. They only had to go 30 yards on 4 or 5 plays. Come on, we're not, defense. That's not on the defense. But they turned it on in the second half, and that's exactly what you want to see. And the Most notable thing is the run defense was there. And again, if you could stop the run, you can 1000% win the game, because now you make teams one dimensional and you can pin your ears back, because it's the same way with style and way we lose, right? We become one dimensional, and now defenses are just pinning their ears back and just getting after, Bryce Young and shaking them up and making us look bad. So when we can do the same thing, these are the outcomes we can have, and these are the processes that can happen. So shout out to the defense for stepping up in the second half, even though, like I said, they played solid all game, right? So we're able to hold the Dolphins to one of their worst rushing days in history. Meanwhile, we got Rico out there running like a man possessed and like he had a personal vendetta, racking up 206 yards on 23 carries, including the 53-yard banger that he almost brought home. That man was absolutely untouchable running the ball on Miami. So fast forward to the fourth quarter when we're down again, 24-20. Clock's ticking, 4th and 5 on Miami's 40-yard line. Bryce steps up, cool as ice. And again, I'll be critical, but I also am going to acknowledge good plays. Bryce steps up, cool as ice in the veins, and he hits Jimmy Horn Jr. for a 17-yard ball to keep the drive alive. And not for nothing, that was, in my opinion, the play of the game. 100% the play of the game. Why was it the play of the game? Because A, it was fourth down. If we didn't get it, it was basically game over. 100% basically game over. And we got to give an honorable mention here to, that route that Jimmy Horn Jr. ran. He was in coverage by a savvy vet, and he was able to hit him with a nice little move, shook him right off him. You even seen that he even grabbed his hip there, tried to hold his hip there. He still broke off of it, still went up there, made the play. Very strong hands, point of attack. It was exceptional, especially seeing that from a rookie that barely was getting any reps. For him to come out and make that play on fourth down, oh my God, game on the line. Talk about clutch. That is absolutely incredible. I can't say enough about that. But on top of that, there was a huge pass interference call against Hunter Renfrow that gave us prime field position. And then the dagger was definitely rookie tight end Mitchell Evans hauling in the 4-yard touchdown with 1:59 left. So with that being said, we see that not only are the rookies stepping up, our younger, guys are stepping up. And, some of the guys that we brought in this year are also stepping up. And we are starting to see, honestly, the team start to gel. And to be able to be down 17-0 and overcome that deficit to win really shows where we are from where we were. I'm a firm believer of, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Because at the end of the day, it's how you finish, man. You can have a rough start, as we did, coming out 1-3. Now we're 2-3. We could really make this the turning point. This game right here could really be the turning point for our season. Now, I don't want to get too hopeful because you know how this goes. We can go next week, play Dallas, and then just get smoked, which I really hope does not happen. I know Rico Dwaddle is really looking forward to that game. He already said that he was looking forward to it in the locker room talks after the game. So it can go anywhere. But as a Panther fan, we know how these situations go. We'll get a win, and then the next week we're getting blown out. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I honestly feel like this team, after this win specifically, it clicked. It's starting to click with them. You can see it. And it's you can't really, there's no one thing that, makes that a real thing. There's not one little thing you could say that this is really going to happen. But in my opinion, and from what I've seen in football, this game was 100% the turning point for the rest of the season. And I really feel like we can make a run here and potentially be a competitor for that division title this year if we can continue this type of momentum. But anyways, this wasn't just a win. It was a statement, because not only did we win this game after facing a 17-point deficit, we were down 3 offensive linemen. And again, giving up early turnovers. Most teams would have packed it in. but not these Panthers. They literally showed out and did not give up. And that's exactly what I am talking about. So let's look at some PFF grades here. Our top 5 offensive PFF grades. We had Damian Lewis here with a 76.4 overall. We have Rico. He had a 75.8. Again, I feel like that's a little low, but that's what PFF is grading him. We had Brady Christensen. All right, with a 75.7. Yeah, bro, if you watch that one play where he broke, I think it was the 43-yard one. BC's out there handing the 2-for-1 special. He's literally guarding 2 people at one time, just pancaking dudes left and right. I mean, I don't understand why this guy isn't taking more snaps. I've already made posts on it, but yeah, I mean, bro, we have guys that we're just not utilizing. That's also been a Carolina thing for the entire time I've been a fan. I don't know why we do that. But yeah, we got guys on this team that we need to be utilizing. BC is one of them. This dude is clearly extremely good. When Matt Rule drafted him, he drafted him high because he seen him as a really good guard over being a better tackle. And the dude plays guard and just lights it up. So what do you know? Not saying Matt Rule was like an oracle or nothing, but you know, he did okay with that draft class that year. So anyways, I mean, it was okay, but he did okay. And then Bryce Young, he had 68.2 overall PFF grade, and then Cade Mays coming in last there on our top 5 with 65.4 overall. Then defensively, we had Nick Scorton, top 5 at an 89.6, team high overall grade, breakout rookie performance, excellent in coverage, and run pass disruption. I mean, the dude absolutely killed it. So kudos to Nick Scorton. Again, these younger, draft class is really stepping up. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but let's keep breaking down these PFF grades. Derek Brown coming in at an 88.0. He had a huge impact in the pass rush. He had a 90.1 pass rush grade, posted a sack and multiple stops. As you know, he's the anchor in our interior, and he's back, folks, so you better be ready for him. And he also did ask Coach Canales to be in those passing situations more, if he could get more reps on passing downs, and look what happened. The players are coming to the coach and asking for plays and asking for reps in different situations that they didn't. And I would like to take that in a good way and not think that it's an issue, but I mean, our coaches should know this. Like, hey, DB would be pretty good in a few pass rush situations, you know what I mean? But so I don't know why we're not doing that already. It shouldn't really come down to the players asking. But again, I mean, I like that the coach is absorbing that and he's willing to, get these guys rolling, even if it's not something that he specifically wanted, you know what I mean? So you gotta give him kudos for that, and I definitely do. Derek Brown's an animal. And then, like I said, my boy, Trayvon, Merrick, this is my boy Trey 7. I already gave an honorable mention, you know what I mean? Being one of my top performers. Obviously, PFF can back it up. He had an 87.6 overall. He had 7 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, and this dude is an elite run defense mark. I'm telling you right now. This guy needs to live in the box. I don't care what we're doing. This dude is our sub linebacker every down. He is just too good at the run game. Whatever we're doing with him right now, do not stop. Do not stop. EE has figured it out. Same thing with the move that we made with allowing Wallace to make the calls over Roseboom. Because Roseboom's a tackling machine. If he's too bogged down trying to get all the calls and get everybody lined up and get everybody in position, he can't play freely. And you've seen the moment that Wallace took over, he's out there looking like the baby Luke almost. You know what I mean? Maybe not making those interceptions, but he's sniffing out the ball, he's sniffing out the run, and he's definitely making plays. But Christian Roseboom came in with an 83.6 overall, and he led the team in tackles with 9. Strong tackling grade for the day. I mean, the guy is just absolutely beast, if you put him in position to be successful, just like anybody. Last but not least, I'm going to put Pat Jones here at 72.1 overall. I'm only going to put him over Corey Thornton, which actually had a better grade. Pat Jones had the game-ending sack, and, we got to give him credit for that. He basically put the game away with that sack. However, like I said, Corey Thornton did have a better PFF grade. of a 73.2 versus Pat Jones' 72.1. But let's take a moment to talk about how this rookie draft class and younger players are stepping up. I mean, because they are, and we got to acknowledge this a little bit. So, as for all the talk about Bryce Young's progress and Dave Canales' system, what's really flying under the radar right now is how much of this Panthers team's energy is being driven by the young guys. And we're talking rookies, second-year players, mid-tier pickups who are earning their stripes every week. Because this isn't a stopgap year anymore. This is the foundation. The foundation, right? And I said this in last year's podcast. Last year's podcast, I said it that last year, because it was Dave Canales' first year as being a head coach and first year of coaching our team. That was basically the evaluation season, as I like to call it. And what does the evaluation season mean? Well, I've said it already and explained it, but we'll touch base real quick. The evaluation season was to see where and how and what makes this team good, where and how we need to improve, and where and how what our core is, right? So they figured that out. Now we are in the foundation year, which is the start of the build of the team and the culture that this Carolina Panthers team can and will be. All right, so let's start on the defense because that's where you can feel the shift. Rookie edge rusher, Nick Scorton. This kid is looking like an absolute steal. His play speed, his edge discipline, I mean, the way he's processing runs is insane. And just absolutely insane. And it's something Carolina's been missing since the early, Burns years. He's not just flashing, he's anchoring drives. So, I mean, this kid's setting the edge, making plays, and not for nothing, a little bit better than Brian Burns because Brian Burns wasn't the greatest at setting the edge as much. I mean, he was okay at it, but Nick Scorton, that was basically his bread and butter, and why we brought him in was to be just that, and he's already thriving. And then right behind him, you got Christian Roseboom. Again, a guy that's been getting a lot of flack, a lot of knock because, unfortunately, the coaches put him in the wrong position. They had him making all the calls, and he just, sure, he might be used to it, but he just wasn't comfortable to the point where he could play as freely as he would like to play. And that was obvious. And now he's quietly stabilizing that linebacker core, which, still needs some help. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to sit here and say that the linebacker room's tier 1 because it's not. But, again, it's, if we can get this kind of play from these guys, we're going to be okay. So he's diagnosing plays, he's communicating checks, and letting the front four play with confidence. And you can tell the young defenders are feeding off each other's energy, and it's cohesive football, not chaos, right? So that first quarter, chaos. The last three, cohesive football. And that's exactly what we need because we can see the cohesion in the front office, right? We can see that everybody's on the same page, especially in these blueprint episodes when they're all in the meeting room. They're all breaking down the roster. They're all breaking down each player and the talents and the skill sets and what they bring to the table and what they want to do with them and where they want to put them, right? We need that same cohesion on the field. We need that same cohesion on the field, and we're starting to see it. We are starting to see it, and we see it through these, we don't see it the way we want to see it, but we're starting to see it now through this adversity, through the team being able to pick each other up and help each other out. That's how you build real chemistry. That's how you build real grit, and that's how you build a team that's not going to mess around, and that's what I like. But then you got Lathan Ransom, another one of my favorite pickups from the draft. This rookie safety is an absolute stud. This guy is literally, I've said it already, a walking boomstick. And, he's had some ups and downs, but he plays fearless, absolute fearless. And he has the instincts and the willingness to tackle in space. He's got the range over the top. And when he can clean some of those coverage reads up, man, he's going to be a long-term starter in the system. I'm telling you. I'm absolutely telling you. So we got a lot of good things going on that defensive side of the ball, folks. these guys just needed some time to gel and figure it out and get together here. We're week 5 here. You know what I mean? 2-3. I'll tell you right now, 2-3 is a hell of a lot better than 1-4. 1-4, your chance of making the playoffs is 7%. You don't believe me? Google it. So season's over at 1-4, folks, unless you're a team like maybe the Bills, maybe the Ravens, maybe the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs ain't looking too good this year. But even though they're not 4-1 or whatever, you know what I mean? It's still the Chiefs. They still can put together a string of wins and get back to where they are, right? And it happens a lot. A good team to put an example of that is like the Steelers. I mean, they can start 0-4 and still make the playoffs. I mean, hell, they can start 0-8 and then they'll go on a 9-game win streak and somehow make the wild card. It's ridiculous, but let's flip to the offensive side, and it's a similar story. We got Mitchell Evans, rookie tight end, that made that red zone touchdown. You know what I mean? Again, that wasn't just a play, it was a statement. He's becoming a safety valve for Bryce when things break down, when his blocking is already ahead of schedule. So I'm already really liking this Mitchell Evans kid. I liked him when we drafted him too. He had the savvy, he had all the traits and the skill sets. You've seen it over there in Notre Dame. When you're seeing it now, I mean, the kid's a rookie and he put the team on his shoulders and he made sure he got that touchdown. He made sure to get that catch. We didn't fumble. He didn't get to the one. Like, he did what he had to do to score because he's got that grit and determination. And that's what we like to see from our players. Then you got Rico, a guy we just brought in, for a 1-year deal. I mean, if he keeps playing like this, we're not going to let him walk out the door, right? I mean, so we got Rico, who's given this offense a physical identity that we haven't seen in years. And I've said this already. We need a power back. We need a power back to complement Chuba, to complement the offense when we get into these short yard situations. We're 4th and 1 and we don't go for it. Coach doesn't believe in it, whatever. Or if we do go for it, we're, let's put it to the goal line situation, right? We'll be on the goal line, 4th and 1, and we're trying to run it out of shotgun. You need a power back to help change it up a little bit and to impose their physicality onto the opponent's defense. When those things happen, you're going to win the game. You're going to win a game because how many times have we lost? I mean, even when we had Christian McCaffrey for those years, we would get into goal line situations there and we would be running tosses. we would do a toss to the outside. Like, bruh, what are we doing? I want to see I formation, bro. And we did try it the one day. I forgot what game it was. I did see that we finally did it, and I was super excited, but we just got blown up. But again, when we don't do it enough and we don't practice it enough, we're not going to be really good at it. So we got to get in the habits of that. But again, having a power back, having a guy that can run angry, be decisive, and provide that balance is everything. And I'll say it a million times. We need a power back. Don't really see Rico as a power back. Don't get me wrong. He's got the power. But I would like us to get a definitive power back, like when we had Dante Foreman. That dude was just a beast. He was a tank. He's hard to bring down. You need those guys in goal line situations so you can get in. So this way you don't have to run the stupid shotgun formation runs. You don't have to run stupid sneaks with your quarterback. Give it to the big guys and let them do their job. So I feel like we can get a little bit out of Rico because he does have that physical identity. But before we move on here, speaking of identity, I've said it already. That is our identity, folks. This football team is a smash mouth football team. I'm not going to say it enough. I don't want to see anything else except some old school. And I know it's boring, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, folks, that most of us have gotten away from the old school trends, the old school smash mouth football. But that's what wins games, guys. Like look at it. When Rico started hitting a rhythm and we were running consistently, dude, the defense was gassed out. They couldn't stop a nosebleed after that. They were already weak at run defense. And when we exploited that, they couldn't do anything. Now they're getting pass interference calls left and right. They're gassed out, they're winded, they can't do anything. You immediately seen that the pressure even dialed back too because they couldn't do anything. They're all tired. When you attack a defense through physical play on the run and in the ground, I'm telling you right now, that's how you open up stuff over the top. This is football 101. That's where we need to really push our identity. And we are a run, smash mouth football team. Our offensive line is built to be either a wide zone power or like a West Coast power, which is almost the same thing, scheme. That's what we're doing. And if we have more implementations of those kind of run plays, which even Rico himself had asked for a couple plays, just as such said, he broke 50 yards, he broke 40 yards. And those were his plays that he wanted. That's per Dave Canales. Okay. So again, these things that I'm saying, I don't just make up. These are per the coach, per the team. You know what I mean? And if you don't believe me, go check. Go look. And I'm sure most of my listeners that are, active followers, they know already, again, I'm no expert, of course, you know what I mean? I do all my own research. At times I can make mistakes, but I do a pretty good job doing my homework, doing my research before I do the pods. I, triple check all my facts before I even get on here. Sometimes I might make a mistake. Of course, I'm human, but at the end of the day, I'm just like the rest of y'all. I love this team. I love to talk about this team, and I love doing the pod, especially when I can. Again, like I said, I'm a very busy guy with a lot of kids and a very demanding job, but that's okay. When I can do it, I'm going to do it, and I love to do it. So again, Rico being that balance. And then, speaking of Bryce a little bit too, what I like about this version of him is the poise. And I said that already. I've already gave him praise for that. Even after the turnovers, he didn't fold. He started to trust the new faces around him, hitting Evans, feeding Rico, and then even the younger linemen, were starting to hit their stride. I mean, this is where the growth happens, folks. And we're seeing true leadership from Bryce by maintaining his composure. Now, again, that's always been his bread and butter, too. The whole world could be collapsing on this guy, and you can't really tell. What was it last week? He was throwing his helmet down, getting all pissed off. But I mean, I would be too. I would be too. We're getting our butts kicked 40 something points to the New England Patriots, which did beat Buffalo, mind you. So they're not as bad as we may have thought. But again, you know what I mean? Nonetheless, when we're not playing to our strengths, just like we weren't last week, which is our run game, we're not going to win. And we need to impose our will, and that's run the ball. Even when it's not working, just keep running it. Just keep running it, bro. Don't give up, because either way, it's going to start eating away and chipping away at that defense, which is going to open up stuff for Bryce to be able to start picking them apart with his arm and his decision making. So kudos to Bryce for that. I won't stop giving him enough credit for that. So kudos to my guy there for that. You know what I mean? And then in conclusion here, the big picture, when you zoom out of this, is what's exciting to me. Carolina isn't relying on expensive vets or temporary fixes anymore. Like I said, the draft class and the younger core are the ones that are setting the tone, right? This is the identity that Dave Canales wanted to build: young, physical, discipline, and ascending together. That's exactly my point of why I said that the last season was the evaluation season, so Dave Canales could get with Dan and they could figure out what and how they needed to build this team. And we are seeing it, like I said, with young, physical, and disciplined players that can ascend together. All right. And if these rookies keep trending upward, Scorton, Evans, Ransom, Horn, I'm yelling, this rebuild might quietly be further along than people realize. And it's the same way that, we all thought we would be able to coast right on Jacksonville. I'll be the first one to tell you, I thought that Jacksonville game was an easy dub, but it wasn't. I mean, especially when we're gifting points. But at the end of the day, I said it already, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And again, in the NFL, starting 1-4 doesn't give you the greatest chances to see success. Like I said, you're at about 7%. However, at 2-3, you got 22% chance of turning this around, and that's a hell of a lot better than 7. So, I mean, we are definitely trending up, and I am absolutely excited about that. 100%. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't be, but I know I'm super excited and I can't wait to see what happens. But, anyways, what's y'all take? Panther Nation, let me know. Like I said, don't be scared to hit me up. Let me know what you think. Who was your MVP? Was it Rico? Was it Bryce? Was it somebody else? Let me know. How do you feel about the comeback? Hit me up on X at 1NG Podcast. Like I said, drop a comment on YouTube. I'm reading every single one on X, active daily, posting, seeing stuff. Obviously, it's a little bit easier for me to get on there and scroll for 10, 15 minutes than it is for me to record pods and do all this stuff and do all the research and everything to make sure I'm just not up here yapping away. But yeah, get at me. Let me know what you think. Who was your MVP? Let me know. And real quick before we close it out here, I just want to say I really appreciate all my followers, all my listeners that have been with me through this tenure that I've been doing this. This is episode 18. I'm almost at 20 episodes. Again, driving this from the ground up. No help, no nothing about podcasting. I'm good with computers and stuff, but I don't really know much about editing and all that other stuff. Just real, raw love for the Panthers have just drawn me into this, situation. Absolutely love it though. And again, I really, really, really appreciate everybody that's been listening. That's, I can see obviously my analytics in my podcast stuff. So I know people are listening and I just want to tell you, thank you so much. Again, it means a lot to me because, I'm just an average Joe. And the fact that people are taking time out of their day to listen to my pod, I mean, this is why I do it, at this point, you know what I mean? I'm not, really doing it for myself anymore at this point. I see that I have an active following and, I like to try to get the pods out for you guys because I do like doing them, but even more so now that I actually have people listening. So I appreciate you guys. You guys are all the real ones. I got to do something nice for you guys. But that's gonna be a wrap for this episode of 1NG Podcast. Again, drop your thoughts on X at 1NG Podcast. Tell me who your MVP was, your score predictions for Dallas, or just how you feel after this dub. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listening, and please leave a review to help me grow. But until next time, Panther Nation, keep it real, keep it a buck, and as always, keep pounding.